Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 16 of season 3 of our F1 2020 My Team career mode, where today we're here back ready for the Singapore Grand Prix. Yes, the European leg of the year is all done and dusted. Now we head into the final 7 races on the flyaway phase of the year. Now obviously if you missed out on the last video from Monza that went live a couple of days back, I would definitely recommend going back and checking it out. But today though, heading into Singapore, championship standings will be revealed in 3, 2, 1. Now, it is officially just a 2-horse race between myself and George Russell with 7 races to go of the World Championship. We have a 34-point lead over our teammate as we head into this weekend's Grand Prix. You can see in the Constructors, we've got a 399-point advantage over Ferrari. We're already Constructors champions, and the battle, though, between Ferrari and Mercedes, as well as Ferrari and Mercedes drivers, is really heating up there. 12 points separate all the drivers, 7 points separate them in the Constructors. There's also a brilliant battle going on between McLaren and Renault as well here. But hopefully, heading into Singapore this weekend, we get some news about next year. Let's dive right into it. Heading into free practice then, in what in my opinion is the most difficult Formula 1 track on the current calendar. A massive thank you for the continued support on this series, as I make a big mistake at the end of the back straightaway there. You know, the last few videos have done phenomenally well, almost out of nowhere, at least in my sort of way of thinking about it. So yeah, massive thank you to everyone who's continued to show support on this series. It is just genuinely incredible to see just all of you guys still enjoying it. And yeah, still really happy with how it is all going there. But anyway, through the final couple of corners then, to finish off our track acclimatization. It's going to be tight if we're going to get the purple score. We actually missed out by a fair bit in the end. Heading onto our tyre wear run, I'm also a little bit worried actually that we might have to take some grid penalties heading into this Grand Prix. The control electronics, I think we are on the last set of those that we've got. So how much screen glare do we need through turn 2 there? So we might actually need to get a third one on the car and get a penalty as we head in towards this Singapore Grand Prix weekend. Obviously, control electronics generally affected by curbs, so you do take a lot of curb around here as well. It's not really a track you can avoid curbs at as well. Obviously, you've really just got to open it up as best as possible there. So we might have a 5-place grid penalty on our way ready for qualifying, but let's just see how we get on. Last but not least then, like we do in all of our free practices, we're going to dive in to the qualifying simulation run. The target time is a 1:33. To be honest, I was wondering this weekend if we were going to be able to get sub 1 minute 30s. I might be way off with that prediction there, as every time I go through that turn 2, I seem to accidentally misjudge it and take way too much curb through there. But yeah, I was wondering, yeah, if 1:30s are going to be possible, maybe even a 1:29 if we get the lap hooked up. But based on that, it might not be such a reality, unless, of course, the delta's way off. So, free practice done and dusted then. Not the most R&D points in the world, but I mean, we're still at 11,600 at the moment, so I don't think we're going to be running out anytime soon. You can see on the control electronics, like I mentioned, both parts are very worn out. So we are going to have to put a new one on the car. Ordering this result will component will result in a grid drop penalty with ordered with the car leaves garage following the completion of the fitting process. So I don't actually know how many places that is. It's normally either 5. I think it's 5, but not quite the way we want to start this weekend. So the best we will be starting is 6th place. Let's make sure we are starting from 6th here in Singapore. So as always then, heading straight out into Q2 on our medium set of compound tyres here. I can confirm it is actually a 10-place grid penalty for a control electronics change here in Singapore. So we are going to be at very best starting P11 in this Grand Prix. Not often do we find ourselves starting in the midfield in this series. So that really is going to make this weekend a whole lot more difficult here. So I think unless we get a miracle, it is probably going to be damage limitation around this Singapore Grand Prix. Obviously, George Russell was able to win this race last season, his 2nd ever race victory in Formula 1. But hopefully, yeah, we can get through into Q3 on these mediums. It's been a bit of an untidy lap so far, but if we can get through on the mediums, then hopefully we can open up a bit of a better strategy for ourselves in the race. Coming to the end of the lap, a 31.9 isn't too bad going on the medium compounded tyres there, so hopefully 1 minute 30s are going to be possible on the softs, but that should be good enough. Bottas in P2 also on the mediums. So there we go then, Q2 done and dusted here at the Singapore Street Circuit. You can see George Russell in fastest there by 1.2 seconds over ourselves, but we were on the medium compounded tyres there in the end. Bottas actually had to go out on a set of softs. He was in the drop zone right towards the end of that session there, but no real surprises. Hamilton getting through on the mediums as well there. Lando, though, ahead of Carlos Sainz in the end as well. But yeah, hopefully now we can try and stick it on pole here and start from P11 on the grid. We're going to get 2 shots at this on the softs. Let's not waste them. Coming round then, ready to start our first flying lap here in Q3. A really, really nice track when you get it absolutely hooked up. It's so difficult to do so. We need a 1 minute 30 if we want to have any chance of qualifying in pole position around here. There's no way we're going to be able to get a 29 out of the car. But still going to give it our best shot as we head through the first couple of corners. Make sure we ride the curbing. Not quite that much though. You just see the back end bounce around as we try to get the power down. Down in through the next couple of corners, all over the white line on the entry and the exit there. We actually grazed the wall, but I think we got away with that one with no damage. Somehow, as we head down the Raffles Boulevard in towards Sector 2, we were always been quick through that first sector, again running just a bit wide as we dive it down in through Sector 2 here, through this technical, well, I mean this whole track is technical, let's be fair, but just heading through there, you've got to get as close to the walls. Like I said, you've really got to open up the track width as best as possible, in through where the Singapore Sling used to be. Ride the curb in as you head over the Anderson Bridge in towards Sector 3 and the back straight, just about get it rotated through. Very, very close to the wall on the X there as you try to get the power down. The DRS opens up really, really early. But as you head down in towards Sector 3, their brake just at the 100-metre board. Can run over the white line. You can see purple times coming in by a plethora of cars as we head through Sector 3. We should be able to go a lot quicker than any of those guys. Braking just before the black box, actually a little bit earlier. Luckily we didn't turn in too early and hit the wall on the inside. 3 more corners to go then, 2 more corners to go. We keep it nice and tidy through the final chicane. 1 more turn to go, drop it down and in 6th gear, keep it pinned at the final corner. It's a 31.7. Not that quick in the end, actually. I'm intrigued to see what our teammate George Russell's going to be able to do, but yeah, no quicker than we were on the mediums. Here we go then, we're only going to get 1 more stab at this here at the Singapore Street Circuit. George Russell is about 9/10 clear of ourselves at the moment. The end races and paint scheme looks absolutely fantastic around this circuit as well. I must add, as instantly as we try to even get onto the lap, the back end just squirming a bit through the final few corners to set us up. We need to absolutely nail this. Full attack mode is definitely going to need to be required around this lap. 1 more chance to make it count around the Singapore Grand Prix. We actually picked up a warning there for track limits. Didn't think we were that far over the white line, I'll be honest, but I mean it's not a lap invalidation, so I guess we will take it and move on. In through Sector 2, we are purple in the first sector, like we have tended to be throughout a lot of this session, trying to use first gear there for the extra rotation. I know it's not my line. We personally prefer things we love to see on F1 2020. Down in through the Singapore Sling. Just trying to ride the curbs as best as possible here as we head over the Anderson Bridge. Make sure we avoid that wall on the inside. Try to get it slowed down. Rotate it through. Get on the power early. Make sure we activate the DRS. And so far, we are a long way up on where we were in Q2. 1 more sector to go then. Oh, skimming the wall on the exit there. Let's just concentrate in through these final few corners of the lap. Like I said, we need near enough a second to catch up and jump our teammate George Russell here. We won't be starting on the front row. At the very best, we'll be starting P11 in this Grand Prix, but through the final few corners we go. Try and roll on the power nice and tidily. 1 more corner to go. Where is it going to be here at Singapore? We're a second up. Where have we found the time? That's good enough. A 1:30.6. How on earth did we manage that in the end? I thought it was going to be P2 when qualifying's done and dusted there. We will take it. Holy moly.
All ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Mr. Monaco, Russell and Charles Leclerc. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
2.5 seconds clear of any other car there. Charles Leclerc just ahead of Valtteri Bottas and Alexander Albon there. It seems like there's going to be a massive battle between Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull this weekend. All of those guys seem to be on the money, but 2.5 seconds clear. I mean, I know this track really does prove all of our car strengths over the rest of the field, but we are going to have a lot of fun in this Grand Prix there. We're going to be starting P11 though, thanks to that penalty. Pole by 1/4 second, that does give us a lot of a motivational boost. As we get ready then, round 16 of the season, it's probably going to be damage limitation, but let's see what we can do here in Singapore.
Against the spectacular backdrop of the Singapore skyline, Formula One returns once again to do battle in what tends to become something of an endurance race, with the notorious sauna-like temperatures in the cockpit making for an extremely physically challenging Grand Prix. The Marina Bay Street Circuit then has 23 corners, 13 to the left and 10 to the right, taking us a total of 3.1 miles around the landmarks of downtown Singapore. An average lap speed around here, just 107 miles per hour. And with me as usual is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about Mr. Monaco. That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
There are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out would have boosted their confidence coming into this one.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. George Russell will begin today's event from pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Bottas, Albon, Lewis Hamilton and Verstappen, Ricciardo, Ocon, Norris and Carlos Sainz. Mr. Monaco, they've taken a grid penalty. Raikkonen, Pierre Gasly and Perez, Kvyat, Stroll, Jordan King and Nobuharu Matsushita, Magnussen, De Vries, Giovinazzi and Nicholas Latifi. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Here we are then on the grid, ready for the Singapore Grand Prix. Round 16 of the season here. And what on earth is that weather? It is meant to be dry, and then a bit of rain, and then dry again towards the end of the Grand Prix here. So that might really, really spice things up, depending on obviously that rain does arrive in this Grand Prix. We're going to set up the strategy like that, no particular reason, I'll be honest. But yeah, we're going to go obviously underfuel the car as well. But the aim is going to be to try and get through the first lap nice and tidy there. We're going to run 2 laps under fuel for this race. Obviously very, very easy to try and fuel save here. But yeah, hopefully we can keep it clean through the first couple of laps. Try and move our way up the order just a little bit. And then I think it's just going to be playing it as the race goes as we get later on, if that rain does arrive, and just how bad it ends up being around this circuit. Round 16 of the season though, damage limitation, 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go, responding fairly well actually to the lights as we're going to have a look towards the outside in towards turn 1. Big double lock up as we got one of the Renaults trying to have a look up the inside. That was Kimi Raikkonen making some big gains through the first couple of corners there, but we haven't gained anything in the end. We haven't lost anything either as we head down in towards turn 4. I think Lando Norris is just going backwards there off the start of this Grand Prix, but as we head up the Raffles Boulevard for the first time, top end speed not looking all too good, just very aware of the Constantina and up just behind us. Sainz is going to have a look up the inside of Raikkonen as we try to have a look around the outside of Sainz. He tries to slam the door on us. We try to get the nose back up the inside, but we can't quite make it work. And it's been, yeah, a fairly calm opening lap. We haven't really been able to do anything. We've sort of just felt boxed in. Very long time since we were in the midfield in this series. But I've probably been about midway through Season 1. We'll try and get the run around the outside of Sainz out onto the back straight. There we go. Should be able to traction him as we head down in towards the final sector. And we're now back up into the points then here at Singapore. Raikkonen on mediums as well. He did get off to a whirly of a start there, but understandably George Russell are already making big gains at the front of the field. This needs to be a win for our teammate George Russell if he wants to continue taking the title fight to us. The gap's opened up to 34 points at the moment, so he absolutely needs this. Even if it's just 8 points he takes out of us, that'll close the gap back down to a race weekend's worth. George, though, fastest obviously at the end of lap 1. Raikkonen rather slow at the final corner. A bit of wheel banging between the pair of us, but we should be able to get the car up the inside in towards turn 1. He tries to stick the nose around the outside, but we hold firm, and we're now up into 9th. Finally starting to make a bit of progress here. Just got through the first lap cleanly. And Ocon now feeling the pressure of the 212 Motorsport car. We try to think about having a look up the inside into the Singapore sling. We were just trying to bait the move there, but Ocon was still rather cautious, actually, on the brakes as we head over the Anderson Bridge. Up the inside we go. Oh, a little bit very, very close there. I don't actually think we made contact with the Renault, but we're now up into 8th place then in this Grand Prix. Now we've only got the original big 3 teams in front of us, but Renault, they've always gone well around this circuit. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Season 1, they got a double podium here. Ricciardo actually won the Grand Prix for them, and he's now our next rival. On Daniel Ricciardo as we head out onto the Raffles Boulevard, lap 3 of 31 here. It really is such an endurance race around Singapore. Ricciardo, what are you doing, man? Just completely locked up into us there. We had nowhere to go, and now we've picked up some front wing damage, which is not going to help. We'll need to see how this fares, otherwise we might need to pit a little bit early here.
Expect to see some rain about 10 to 15 minutes from now.
There we go then. The team saying there is going to be rain in about 10 to 15 minutes. So that's a lot earlier on than the game was originally predicting. So this front wing damage doesn't feel too bad. So I may as well just stay out there and wait till the rain. Try and get another run on Daniel Ricciardo. A big, big squeeze again, but we're going to muscle our way up the inside through the kink there. No way we're going to give him any room through the next corner. We're now up into P7, sorry, of this Grand Prix. Like I said, the front wing damage definitely isn't helping us, but it doesn't feel too bad either. Just, I think, the sheer amount of grip this car has normally. All over the back of Max Verstappen as we head out of the final corner to start lap 5. Don't think we're quite close enough to go for anything in towards turn 1 as we almost go into the back of the Ferrari, but I think Hamilton and Verstappen both just stuck a little bit behind Alex Albon there. Verstappen swipes across our nose as we head down in through turn 4. Hopefully we can get a run on him on the exit of the corner. Just have a look around the outside. The top end speed this weekend isn't actually that good, but we're much, much later on the brakes, and we're now up into 6th. Can we now get a bit of a run on Lewis Hamilton? We need to try and get past Albon as quickly as possible. That wasn't actually my intention to go up the inside of Hamilton, but we've sent it, and we're up into P5 of the race. You can see Charles Leclerc's got about a 4-second gap, sorry, to Alexander Albon at the moment. But yeah, only 7 rounds to go of the World Championship. I will also very, very soon, I'll be doing some driver news where we're going to announce our vote for Season 4, but our teammate George Russell's into the pits. Albon is going to follow him in as well, so over the next couple of laps we should be back up into the lead of this Grand Prix. What tyres have they gone on to? Don't think I'm not going to be able to find out. I think it might have been another set of softs. But yeah, like I was saying though, we are going to open up a driver vote ready for Season 4. George Russell's already confirmed he doesn't want to remain part of the organisation. So hopefully, yeah, we're going to have 4 really, really good drivers that you guys potentially want to see us pairing up with in a face-off next year. End of lap 6, Valtteri Bottas is also now into the pit lane. So we're back up into pretty usual territory here on F1 2020. Now we just got to wait for the wet period. But I think George Russell is actually stuck in a huge train of traffic towards the rear of the field there. You can see he's just got around one of the Alfa Romeos as they dive into the pit lane. So it really hasn't worked out well for our teammate. He's going to need to try and fly back through the order, because depending on when this rain comes, it could really, really help us out.
The rain is a few laps out yet, but it is coming. Be careful.
The team saying the rain is on its way. Will it get wet enough though before we need to pit, or will we have to go on a quick blast on the soft tyres and try to use them up as it starts to rain, utilise the extra grip? You can see pretty much everyone now behind us on the Delta is also on the medium, so obviously Hamilton, who started inside the top 10, and of course Raikkonen who had that absolute worldly of a start. Stroll, though, still out there on a set of softs, making him last. There we go, lap 9. Russell just now appearing once again back on our Delta, so he has made a good job of carving his way through a lot of the slower cars. Now, we should be able to get a direct comparison to see how much time he's taking out of ourselves. Oh, there we go, lap 11. The rain is now here around Singapore, and George Russell is taking a lot of time out of us, lap after lap at the moment. The next question is, how heavy is this rain going to get, and how long is it going to stay around this Grand Prix circuit here? I think George is going to try and get past Raikkonen as soon as possible, but he's got fresher rubber. He's also got a fully intact front wing, I'd imagine, as well, at the moment. Team saying they're happy with the tyres at the moment. I mean, it's only just started raining. We don't need to make a completely rash call straight onto inters or anything like that. But now, just trying not to make any mistakes at the moment. Try to just lean on the car just a little bit less than we were on the dries, because any mistake is a front wing gone, maybe even a wheel as well. And there is too much on stake at the moment to risk making a massive mistake like that in the World Championship. Coming towards the end of lap 13, the end of lap 12 even, I should say. The track is definitely getting damper and damper at the moment. It is starting to get a little bit difficult to try and keep these medium compounder rubber working in the window that we want them to. George Russell has finally got around Raikkonen. You can see he's romping away from him rather quickly. The team is saying about how we might want to fit wets next time we dive in. I completely agree with them at the moment, but obviously we're going to need to get the front wing changed as well. I don't want to be losing any more time through that in the long run in this race. I do think it'll be worth getting the swap. Team saying we're leading George by obviously 19 seconds at the moment. Obviously he has been helped by some slower traffic, but the fact that over this entire sort of few laps he has still taken time out of us. I'm a little bit worried to see what times he's going to be able to run. As you can just see, the understeer through a couple of the corners and the wheel spin on the exit is just getting worse and worse. Surely soon it's going to be worth making a pit onto inters.
The radar's showing a clear patch on its way. There's about 10 more minutes of this rain.
And as soon as I say that, the team's saying it's meant to get dry again in about 10 minutes, so we might just have to try and hang on this rubber there, as you can see on the exit, onto the back straight. Certainly getting a little bit loose through there, but yeah, just no confidence at the moment. Don't want to take any risks and damage the car again, like I said. We got 18 seconds over George Russell. We can afford to lose a second a lap between now and the end of the race and still come away with the win. Oh, the team, what are they saying? Let's have a look. They're saying inters now. I think we've got to make the call. We've got to come in the end of this lap onto a set of the intermediate compounded tyres here. Make sure we get it nice and tidily down into the pit lane. Oh my god. We've missed the pit entry. No, 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 no. We've Kimi Raikkonen it from the European Grand Prix in 2007. That is not going to help us out in this race there. So we're now going to have to go around another lap around this circuit on these dry compounded tyres there. And you can instantly see how much time we're losing.
We thought the slicks may still be quicker, but it's very close, and you're going to struggle to keep them in the temperature window.
So
the inters are ready when you need them.
The team is saying slicks are still quicker, so I've got no idea now what is going on in this Grand Prix. Hamilton's gone onto a set of inters, George has gone onto a set of inters, DRS has been disabled as well. So inters is definitely way to go. The team now are saying inters again. They're saying inters next lap for whatever reason now, but these tyres have absolutely, definitely not what we need in this race. And just like I said, Kimi Raikkonen, 2007 European Grand Prix, obviously he missed the pit entry in that crazy, crazy start to the German Grand Prix and had to go for another lap. It looks like we're able to do the same here. Look at that, Nick de Vries up into P3 of the Grand Prix. I'm guessing George Russell's just behind that group in P6 there, but no idea. Could we see Haas on for their first points of the year? Nick de Vries' first ever points in F1, whilst we are just limping around at the moment. You can see the gap to Hamilton coming down exponentially at the moment here as we just try to get through the second half of this lap. 40 miles an hour through there. Wheels spinning at, what, like 30% throttle as well. Only got a few more corners to go. The massive lockups in towards the turns here. We are just dragging the car around. We know, like I said, we can't afford to take risks. We cannot afford to risk damaging the car, potentially putting it in a wall and out of the Grand Prix, because pretty much unless we make a massive mistake, we still should be able to get points here. Limping through the final couple of corners. Right, now we need to be really careful. If we miss the pit entry again, we can basically kiss any race hopes goodbye. Down in towards the pit lane, a bit more tidy. Just about get it slowed down into the pits this time round. There you can see George Russell is back up into P3, but he's lost a good handful of seconds to Lewis Hamilton over that lap there. Hopefully they better change the front wing. So many times this season they've changed the front wing, I think they are going to. But Hamilton is going to definitely inherit the lead now of this race. Are we going to be out ahead of our teammate George Russell, though? That is the big question for ourselves. A 9.3 second stop. It's going to be incredibly close between myself and George, but I think he's just about going to have the edge. As we head out of the pit lane, there goes George Russell. So we're now back on equal strategy in this Grand Prix, but for the second time in 3 races, it looks like another car is in very, very good stead. 11 seconds though, with qualifying paces ending to go by, we still should be able to hound Hamilton in not too many laps, but still, the rain just getting heavier and heavier. Now over half race distance at the moment, but half race distance at Singapore, you feel like you've already done an entire Grand Prix. Hamilton, 8 seconds up the road, the gap is coming down rather quickly, but George Russell, the gap as well to our teammate, just coming down a little bit on that last lap. We're just trying to push quick but careful, I think is what we're going to word it.
Track soon, back to dry shortly.
There we go, lap 18, the team are now saying the track is meant to be drying up rather soon. It's still very much looking like it's raining more and more lap after lap at the moment, but can we just appreciate as well just how stunning Singapore looks in the rain on F1 2020 in 4K. This track always looks brilliant on the F1 games, but it really, yeah, just gives you such an atmosphere.
Between you and the car behind is increasing by a significant amount each lap. Good job.
Almost at 2/3 race distance then, and it appears that George Russell and myself have both closed up to the back of Lewis Hamilton. We seem to close up to George rather quickly, but obviously identical machinery, we're going to really, really struggle to get around our teammate here. He seems so strong in the traction zones. Hopefully though, maybe Hamilton can be of assistance here as we head down in through Sector 3. I'm sure the Mercedes man, he desperately wants his first win of the year. It'll be the first year since, what, 2011 Mercedes might go without a race victory here over the course of an entire year. Obviously that was only their second year after rejoining the sport, but yeah, at the moment though, the only other thing I can think of is, unless tyre strategy comes into it, if we have to move back to the dries towards the end, the team is saying we're going to pit for inters again. To be honest, I'd be more tempted just to hang on out here at the moment. The tyres don't feel like they're losing grip whatsoever. But, oh, George, bit of a mistake there, and then cuts across us on the exit. We're going to try and out-traction him. As soon as I say how we can't seem to get around George, he then suddenly makes a bit of a slip-up. But then out onto the Raffles Boulevard once again, not quite able to get the run on our teammate, and we do still need to work together at the moment to try and get past Hamilton. We've already lost one race victory this year. I do not intend on losing another. I've only just noticed the fact that the top 3 have nearly a half a minute advantage over the next car here. I've got no idea. I think Bottas and that whole lot are stuck behind one of the Alfa Romeos in the mid-pack. Has still looked like they might be able to get their first points of the year as well if things continue to go their way in this Grand Prix. But Hamilton, George and myself have just reached a bit of a stalemate in this Grand Prix. None of us really want to try and go for a daring move. We're just waiting for another one to make mistakes. But with 3 drivers who I'd argue are still all at the top of their game at the moment, so mistakes aren't exactly going to be a common occurrence. Oh, we got yellow flags out though. That's one of the Alpha Tauris. I think it's Pierre Gasly. No, it must be Danny Kvyat. Going slowly here. Is that going to bring out a safety car just as the rain stopped in this Grand Prix? Surely that's a safety car here. How might that affect the running order in the latter stages there. Kvyat's out, and it is a safety car. Do we take a strategy gamble and go on to dries now, or do we wait?
Check your MFD for a new strategy option.
Oh, there we go. End of lap 21. The team is saying pit onto dries. I guess we're going to go for it. Hamilton and Russell are not opting to dive it in. So it's a big, big gamble coming from the team here for the championship leader. We should still be out in P3. But yeah, very, very surprised that the team have gone with that in this Grand Prix at the moment. It's definitely not raining anymore. There's still a little bit of spray being kicked up from our intermediate rubber. Let's just wait and see as to how the grip is on these new dries. 3-second stop isn't very good either. No idea why the team have lost so much ability in the pit stops more recently, but even if it isn't dry enough yet, we've got to wait till the safety car comes in before it makes a difference. However, trying to keep the rubber in good nick as well might be handy. That's a good sign though. Everyone else behind us now opting onto a set of the dry compounded tyres as well there. So Raikkonen's still up in P4 at the moment. Gasly's still in 5th place in this Grand Prix. But everyone else is in the pits. So we might be able to get the undercut then on Hamilton and George Russell here. I've got no idea why the team recommended the strat and didn't let George go onto it. But it could really, really help us out in this race. No, lap 22. We're all over the back of George Russell and Lewis Hamilton just as they dive it back down into the pit lane here. So we are now up into the lead of the Grand Prix for what, the first proper time in this race there. Hamilton and George, I think they still should come out in P2, but it won't be particularly comfortably. Hamilton on a set of mediums. George, what's he going on to? I would have thought it's mediums as well, whereas the rest of the field have gone on to a set of hards to the end of this race. There we go, yep, George on mediums as well. So it's still going to be a good sprint to the finish, but now the tables have turned. So the safety car then coming in with just 7 laps to go then here from Singapore. And to add to our issues, we've now got a DRS failure to deal with in the final few laps of this Grand Prix. I've got no idea why the game wouldn't let me accelerate there for a brief moment. So we're going to have to absolutely nail this restart and try to pull away from Hamilton, because if he gets past us, we won't have any DRS to try and get back round him in the latter stages of this race. I cannot see the team being able to get this sorted before the checkered flag. But yeah, we're probably just going to try and bolt in towards the final corner of the lap. The safety car is now into the pit lane, so we're ready to go just about when we feel like. 3, 2, 1, now will be when we go again in this Grand Prix. No temperature in the fronts as we head out of the final corner there. You can see Hamilton did react well. He was definitely not caught napping this time around as we head in through the first couple of corners. 7 laps to go. Try and hold on to this race lead. Really, really good traction as we head out of the first couple of corners. I'm not too worried about Hamilton in this race. I'll be honest, we should be much, much more worried about our teammate George Russell. I would certainly love to win the Singapore Grand Prix for the first time on F1 2020 as well. Purple through the first sector. Everyone is going to be rapid at the end of this race, but we've held off the start, which is the most critical bit. Actually rubbing up against the wall there. Hopefully that hasn't given us any damage. No, it has not. Now, let's see if we can romp away. In through the final corner then of lap 25! Oh my god, the back end just completely come round of us as we set new fast lap of the Grand Prix. We've completely dropped it at the final corner. That is an almighty bottle job by myself. Trying to rejoin not to hit anyone without losing as many places as possible. And now we're down in towards last place of the Singapore Grand Prix. I cannot believe we've done that in this Grand Prix there. Stroll trying to hook it up around the outside. We've completely cooked the rear tyres as well there. That has been an almighty mistake from myself there. Completely unexpected. And often in this series, the back end of this car so good, so stable. But that time round there, it's just snapped round on us. Nothing we could do in that instance. We tried to have a look up the inside of Lance Stroll, but he holds it on the brakes. What has happened to us in the latter stages of this Grand Prix? A comfortable race lead. I said how we didn't need to take any risks, and I didn't feel like we were there through the final corner. But now we're down into 20th place in this race with just 5 laps to go here. We're going to need to make overtakes here, there, and everywhere if we want to try and score some points once again. I cannot believe we have bottled this like that. Up the inside of Nicholas Latifi. We're back up into 19th, but Hamilton now could make it the second race in 3 where one of our cars has not won, unless, of course, George Russell can get back round him. DRS now enabled in this race, but obviously it won't be for us. Trying to have a look around the outside of Nobuharu Matsushita there. A little bit sketchy, but we do get the move done. Back up into 18th place in this race, but now the aim is just to try and score some points. Lando Norris way earlier on the brakes there than I was expecting. He's got the DRS. We would be having the DRS had it still been working, so that really, has not helped us at all in this race. Picking up the wrong marker board as we head in towards Sector 2. Up the inside, though, of Lando Norris. We've just got to take opportunities whenever they open up for ourselves in the final few laps of this race. It's not even damage limitation anymore. It's just about trying to scrape anything from this. How can a race so quickly turn on its head? Thought about having a look up the inside of Giovinazzi there. Couldn't make it work. Let's see if we can get past him over the Anderson Bridge. Try not to run into the back of Perez. And we've only got to make another place. Rather worried about us as we head through the final couple of corners. I can see where the points are still in this race. But luckily for us, Hamilton seems to be in control at the front of the field there. We get a good run at the final corner. This time around, the back end doesn't break loose on us as we head back down in towards turn 1. Up the inside of Sergio Perez. And we're up another spot in this Grand Prix. Slam the door on him. Look at the run we're able to get off of turn 3 though. Past one of the Haas cars there of Nick de Vries. Now we got Ricciardo sat in the way as we head out onto the Raffles Boulevard. I've clicked the wrong button, just as I always used to. Ruin the hype. Right when it gets exciting there. Up the inside though of Daniel Ricciardo. We're not going to be able to make anything work on Ocon, so Ricciardo tries to get the nose back at the inside. This time around, no contact between myself and the Red Bull man, but still now. Next up then, Frenchman Esteban Ocon. He's always gone well around this circuit, like I said. Try and get a run up the inside in towards Singapore Sling. No way we lifting this time round. A bit of contact, but we're up into 12th. 3 laps to go then, and there's Carlos Sainz and Verstappen, who are between us and points in this race as we wallop the wall in towards the final couple of corners. We should now be able to get past Maxi Boy in towards turn 1. Magnussen just seems to be getting pushed backwards as well at the moment. Obviously, Haskell way, way higher than you would be expecting it, but to the outside of Carlos Sainz as we head out of the first couple of turns. We should have the inside. We will have the inside, and we're going to be up now back into the top 10 of this Grand Prix. Obviously, we've got to remember as well, we have got fastest lap, so it will be 2 points that we get from this race if we finish here. But you can see Jordan King as well doing a fantastic job up in P7. Albon, though, tries to make the move up the inside of Magnussen as we get round the outside of Albon. So we're now up into 9th place in this Grand Prix. We could get 7th, but there is a big, big gap to the top 6. Obviously, you can see George Russell and Hamilton up the road. Way, way up the road, actually, in Sector 3. Are we going to be able to see our teammate make the move work as we make another overtake on Magnussen? This is just frantic racing in the end here. This feels like a sprint mode, going for every opportunity that possibly opens up for us. We are taking all the risks in the world as we've just got 2.5 laps to go here. We need to try and get around Jordan King. The final corner. Can we get the run now on Jordan King? Shouldn't really be much of a battle against our former teammate. Up the inside in towards turn 1, and we are now back up into P7 of this Grand Prix, but a 6-second gap to Charles Leclerc at the road is certainly going to be difficult to try and close up with under 2 laps to go of this race. We might be able to get close, but getting around them is a very, very different question. Let's just see what we can do. Coming on to the final lap then of this Singapore Grand Prix there. This race might not be done just yet. We've taken nearly 5 seconds out of Charles Leclerc on that last lap. I've got no idea who is holding up this train of cars as another new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. George Russell doesn't look like he's going to be able to capitalise and get around Lewis Hamilton on the final lap of this race, but it's Pierre Gasly who's formed a little bit of a train here ahead of Charles Leclerc and Valtteri Bottas, and what an insane race this has been. It's had absolutely everything, but it's not over just yet. We've got a good run on Charles Leclerc as we head up the straight there. You can see Bottas now trying to look past Pierre Gasly as well. We're going to try and look around the outside of Charles Leclerc, switch to the inside, which once again moves back to the outside of Pierre Gasly, and it's another double overtake. So Gasly going backwards right at the end of this Grand Prix. We almost put it in the wall. Can we potentially get one more spot out of this? And could we go from 21st back to 4th inside, what, the remaining 6 laps of the Singapore Grand Prix? Who said you can't overtake around this circuit? I mean, having a car that's 2 seconds a lap faster certainly makes things easier here, but can we try and get a run on Bottas? We have not got the run down in towards the final sector. You can see just how much we're gaining here. We've been massively helped by a lot of these guys being on hard compounded tyres in comparison to our mediums. They're way too much curb as we head through the final few corners, but Hamilton is going to win the Singapore Grand Prix. Mercedes' first win since Italy last season there. They have finally got a win on the board this year. They were really, really surprised George wasn't able to get around him right at the very end there, but one Mercedes might have stayed out ahead of one of our cars. Can the other out through the final corner? They're going to be really close, but it's not enough in the end.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
So, another fantastic victory for the Silver Arrows. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes. So let's review the updated driver standings. Mr. Monaco increases their championship lead. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Well, I certainly didn't have any complaints with Kevin Magnussen's performance today. Incredible driving.
The Constructors' Championship may be a foregone conclusion at the moment, but regardless, let's look at the standings. There was also a strong showing from the Mercedes team today as they make their way up the standings. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula One action soon.
I cannot believe we bottled that with 6 laps to go here. Obviously, you guys that have been around the channel for a long, long time know I'm not one of these people that likes a script or likes, you know, to rewind to make things work the way we wanted it to there. So, I mean, you could tell by my face reaction how sort of surprised I was with the car just over-rotating through the final corner there. It just seemed to happen so quickly, and there was nothing I could do to get it pointed back round in the right direction. In many ways, we were lucky, actually, that we didn't hit the wall and therefore take ourselves completely out of the Grand Prix there. But Hamilton, like we said, managed to win Mercedes' first race in just over a year. Obviously, the last time he and they won was last year's Italian Grand Prix there. George Russell couldn't make it work in the end, actually had a slower best lap than Lewis Hamilton, which means for the second time this year, one of our cars did not win the Grand Prix there. I think mathematically that's actually our worst result of the season as a team there. Raikkonen P3 though, fantastic job from him starting from 12th on the grid ahead of Bottas and myself there. Pierre Gasly as well on a similar strategy, doing a fantastic job there ahead of Charles Leclerc. Jordan King in 8th is a very good job for him, and Magnussen picking up Haas's first points of the year there. I'm sure Williams are gutted with that, with Albon on a 3-stop still able to score some points there as well at the end of the day. Looking down the rest of the field there, you can see a completely mixed up grid there. Sainz in 11th, Verstappen, Ricciardo, Ocon, De Vries, Perez, Giovinazzi, Norris, Matsushita, Latifi and Stroll, with Danny Kvyat obviously creating the spice and the dramatics there with his DNF in that Grand Prix. Constructors-wise though, we have now just got a 27-point lead over George Russell here. He still seems to be showing signs of good form, but he has been a little bit ropey in the last couple of race weekends as well there. That win, though, for Hamilton gives him a 19-point buffer ahead of Max Verstappen, who is now tied with Valtteri Bottas for P4. There was Charles Leclerc just 5 points back. Other movers, though, Raikkonen with that fantastic result jumps past Pierre Gasly, Jordan King, as well. There, as you can see, 21 points to Gasly's 20, and then King and Kvyat's 16 points apiece as well. There's Magnussen now on to the board, means it's just Matsushita, De Vries, obviously the two F2 guys that have moved up into Formula 1, and then the two Williams cars of Giovinazzi and Latifi are the only ones yet to score. Mercedes, though, as well, jump back past Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship. Renault with that good weekend as well, jump back past McLaren. And could we see them potentially make a strong charge towards Red Bull at the end of the year there? But thank you all so much for watching this video nonetheless. If you did enjoy, do make sure you get yourself subscribed. And yeah, we will be back tomorrow where we head, I think, to the Russian Grand Prix. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.